let's go with the opening question. Break this down. What happened?
Oh, that's a loaded question, Mike. So let's start from the very beginning when this happened. So, in the intelligence community, you obviously know we work on various methods. So there's known knowns, known unknowns, and unknown unknowns. And so I'm going to start with the known knowns. What do we know? We know that pagers and walkie-talkies that were procured by Hezbollah were in fact detonated by an unknown entity. That's what we know, because Israel has not commented on it, and they've not expressed they're not like a terrorist organization that comes out and says, we did this. So we know that. We know that these detonated, that they killed various individuals. We also know this was highly targeted. This was only devices that were procured by Hezbollah. They were then distributed from Hezbollah leadership to other members of Hezbollah, and then those were detonated at the time that they were detonated. So those are our known knowns. Now, our known unknowns is that this is most likely a Mossad or a Unit 8200, likely Mossad and Unit 8200 within the Israeli intelligence operation that were tipped off that Hezbollah was going away from using cell phones to using less sophisticated items like pagers and walkie-talkies, which are more one-way communication devices. Now, it's no surprise to your audience that the U.S. intelligence community and most all intelligence communities understand that cell phones can be tracked. The communication devices can, so the communications in those devices, talking, text messages, they can be taken by intelligence agencies and then analyzed and disseminated in order to inflict damage on those terrorist organizations. That's no surprise to anybody. Right. So what happened was, and this is a long-term operation, and so there is a lot to unpack here. So about 6 months ago, it was brought up that the Hezbollah leader, Nasrallah, had said, listen, get all the biggest impact to our organization is your cell phone, your wife's cell phone. They're being tracked by the Israelis. Throw them out. We're going to go to pagers. Hezbollah went to pagers. They procured those seemingly from a company in Taiwan. Now, that Taiwanese company has come out and said that they did not actually send those devices to Hezbollah. It was actually from a different organization based out of Hungary. That's BAC Consulting. And what it looks like here is that either Mossad or this Unit 8200 started a shell company. What I like to say is it's a drop shipping company. I don't know if you know what a drop shipping company is. It's gotten a lot of popularity since COVID. Mm-hmm. Basically, what it does is you pay that company to procure the items. They get the items. They don't have to have a warehouse. They don't have to have the actual equipment. And then it gets shipped out to whoever's buying it. So it looks to me, from my analysis,
it's an intermediary.
An intermediary, correct. Yeah. So it looks like, from my analysis, in 2022, this company started. And why I say it's a drop shipping company is if you look at it, follow the money, it runs the same line as a typical drop shipping company. It starts and it gains a lot of revenue very soon. So it was getting revenue in the first year of $750,000 or more. It was in the millions by 2023. And it was actually the company that Hezbollah contacted or worked through to get these pagers. And so from that point, if we assume, so these are the known unknowns, if we assume that Mossad or Unit 8200 was actually part of this company, they procured these items, had them, they procured 5,000 pagers, right? And they had their operatives put in certain explosives into these devices. Those devices were then also, it's not really hacked into from a SIGINT from a signals intelligence perspective, but they had sort of a triggering device that if a message is sent, much like an improvised explosive device that we saw in Iraq and Afghanistan while I was there, if you trigger the remote device, then that then triggers all the other devices associated with it. That sent a message to those devices. Well, we know now it's an error message, and that is what caused these explosions. And so that's all that we know right now about all of this. But I have to tell you, in working in these kind of operations, and I try to catch myself sometimes when I talk to people about this, because I say I worked in similar operations to this. There's no similar operation to this, but there's no other way to describe this operation in comparison to other operations, unless you go back to Vietnam, where U.S. Special Forces kind of did the same exact thing to the Viet Cong, where it was a supply chain issue. They figured out the supply chain, they got it together, and they started inserting detonation devices into Viet Cong devices that would then explode. So that's about as close as we get to this operation.